The blue lights flashed behind her before she even realized the police cruiser had been following her. Dr. Maya Caldwell, driving a modest gray sedan, glanced calmly into the mirror. She wasn't speeding, she wasn't swerving, she wasn't even late for her meeting. Still, the patrol car wavered dangerously close, urging her to pull over. She did. What the officer didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know, was that the woman he was about to corner wasn't just another driver. She wasn't an ordinary professional. She wasn't even a typical federal agent. She was the director of the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, the top of the agency, sworn in quietly just 4 months earlier. But Officer Blake Turner had already made up his mind before he stepped out of his cruiser, and the small packet hidden in his palm would change the next 10 minutes of his life forever. Officer Turner approached with a swagger he had perfected on lonely back roads and late-night stops, usually targeting people who wouldn't fight back. He tapped Maya's window with a crooked smile. "Evening, ma'am. License and registration. You made a suspicious lane change." Maya's voice was steady, calm, measured. "Officer, I didn't change lanes. I stayed behind the truck the entire time. Is there another reason for the stop?" Turner didn't like smart questions. He especially didn't like them from women who looked like her, confident, composed, and not intimidated in the slightest. "You fit the description of a vehicle involved in narcotics activity," he said, testing the line. Maya raised a brow. "Oh, what description is that?" Turner ignored the question. "Step out of the vehicle." She exited slowly, hands visible, posture relaxed but alert. She knew the game, and she knew it better than he did. Turner's eyes scanned her car. Then, while pretending to inspect her back seat, he subtly dropped the small, white-filled packet between the seat cushions. A cheap trick, a dangerous one he'd performed before. He turned back to her, fake triumph already forming on his lips, until he saw the expression on her face. Not fear, not shock, just disappointment. As if she'd seen this movie 1,000 times and was already bored of the ending. Officer Turner held up the packet between two fingers. "Ma'am," he said with theatrical authority, "care to explain this?" Maya looked at it for exactly 1 second, then inhaled deeply through her nose. "Officer Turner, I'm going to give you a moment to think carefully before you continue." "Think carefully," he scoffed. "You're in possession of—" "Before you continue," she repeated. Her voice had changed, low, commanding, carrying a weight that made Turner's stomach twist. "Ma'am, you are resisting cooperation, which—" She cut him off with a single chilling line. "Officer, call your supervisor. Right now." Turner laughed nervously. "No need for that. We can handle this." "Call," she said, stepping closer, "your supervisor." Turner hesitated. Something in her tone told him that the ground beneath his feet was not as solid as he thought. "Ma'am, why don't we—" And then she opened her jacket. Inside was not a weapon, not a badge pinned to a shirt, but a black leather wallet with gold stamped lettering. She flipped it open with the kind of precision that ends arguments instantly. United States Department of Justice, Drug Enforcement Administration. Director, Maya Caldwell. Turner's pulse stopped. His mouth opened. No sound came out. His entire career flashed before his eyes and then burst into flames. 2 patrol cars arrived first, then a police lieutenant. then 3 unmarked federal vehicles after Maya made one quiet, lethal call. By the time the lieutenant stepped onto the scene, Turner was already sweating through his uniform. "Director Caldwell," the lieutenant said, stunned, "we had no idea." "I'm aware. But you do have an idea about this." She held up the planted evidence with gloved fingers. "Your officer attempted to fabricate evidence during an unlawful stop." The lieutenant's face drained of color. Turner tried to speak. "Ma'am, I thought I didn't." Maya stepped closer, voice calm but sharp as a scalpel. "You assumed I was powerless. You assumed no one would believe me. You assumed I would panic, beg, or break." She looked him dead in the eye. "You're about to find out what a real federal investigation looks like." The federal team moved in. Photos were taken, statements recorded, dashcam pulled, body cam seized. Turner's hands trembled uncontrollably. And for the first time, he wanted to be the one who disappeared. After an hour of documentation, after Turner had been read his rights and placed in cuffs, Maya finally prepared to leave the scene. The lieutenant asked softly, "Director Caldwell, do you want him prosecuted at the federal level?" Maya looked at Turner. No rage, no vengeance, just the cool, cutting resolve of someone who had seen far too many victims like herself targeted the same way. "We're not just prosecuting him," she said. "We're auditing every stop he has ever made." The lieutenant swallowed hard. Maya opened her car door, paused, and looked back one last time. "Officer Turner," she said, "your mistake wasn't planting evidence." He blinked, confused. "It wasn't profiling me," she continued. "It was assuming that power only belongs to people who look a certain way." She stepped inside, closed the door, and the engine hummed to life. "And that," she said through the open window, "is the last assumption you'll ever make in uniform." The DEA convoy rolled out, leaving behind a stunned police department, a shaken crowd, and an officer who had just learned, too late, that justice arrives quietly until you provoke it.